night celebrated in Sydney for French National Day, and some of our French Aussies who enjoyed their Bastille festivities join us in the audience. Great to see you guys. And I'm going to ask you a question, Leo. First off, what does it mean to be a French Australian celebrating the Tour de France on Bastille Day?
Hi, Vash. Thank you for having us. So I guess Bastille Day is always, a great moment in the French Australian community here. It happens during the tour, and I guess that's always a unique moment, bringing the French and the Australian who are so passionate about the cycling and all the French sceneries they like to see on your show.
And Caroline, you've got a question for our panel?
Yes, I wanted to know, guys, how do you think the Tour de France changed the way Australians perceive French people now?
Well, when I was 15, in Lycra, it was just about called a poofter, but because the Lycra, but that's so changed now because I think the Tour de France and cyclists in general, it's now a mainstream event in Australia, and I think that the Tour de France in July, it becomes one of those experiences that everyone wants to watch and see, whereas 10, 15 years ago it wasn't, so it really has changed.
Yeah. But I mean, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and we were talking about Eurovision and Tour de France. These two sort of European identities, but they're so synonymous with SBS. But we get so many people who don't even really follow cycling getting involved with the Tour de France because it's got this identity beyond that. You watch it as much for France, as much for everything, the identity for Gabriel Garte, as for the sport itself. Yeah, I think it's had a huge effect.
And having Aussies in there as well, Al, is like something that even the French Aussies want to see as well. That they've now got their Australian identity in the Tour.
I'll ask another question to the floor, Paul. What do you think the Tour de France's ability to overcome setbacks? Do you think it's down to the passion of the French fans about the race, its ability to regenerate itself?
Yeah, that's a tough question, Vash, but I guess the key with Tour de France and the relationship between French and Tour de France is definitely the passion. It's been around for such a long time, and people are embracing the human adventure that Tour de France is, and I really believe that is the most important thing, and it overcomes all the other, aspects of scandals and things like that. The passion, really.
All we need now is a Tommy Verkler classic face on this year's tour, don't we? We haven't seen it yet.
No, we haven't. We've seen him stretch a little bit in the back. But, he might be just warming up. You never know with old Tommy. He's a classic.
The French experience as a rugby player, we always used to go there in winter, so when the French authorities always put us on the outside of town, we didn't get part of the culture. So when you sort of see the Tour de France and see the beautiful country which France is, and just an amazing place, and to go there in 2008 and get through those French Alps was just an experience you'd never forget.
Well, that's right, Porto, isn't it? It sort of inspires a whole lot of people to go out and go ride these mountains.
Yeah.
And what about, other than Mont Ventoux, for you, Hank, some of the other highlights of week 2 for you? So obviously the sprint battles have been exhilarating, haven't they?
Oh, it's fantastic. I think I got a text from my father early in the morning after the crosswind stage where, it was an absolute royal battle out there, 10 different echelons. He sent a message saying, oh, this is real Tour de France from back in my day. Where the Dutchies, and they put the smack down in the echelons and really made it. For me, that was the standout moment for the second. You've always got the sprints there in every tour. That's kind of predictable. Fastest man wins, but when they put the smack down in the crosswinds, oh mate, I wish I was back there even there.
I must ask you about the Cavendish argy-bargy and how the French fans reacted to that. Oh,
that was not warranted, I don't think, and we've heard some things about Cavendish getting urine thrown on him. That's just ridiculous. He's a sprinter. He's a killer. He needs to go straight. That guy should never have been there. And if you see the aerial footage, you see him come into Cavendish. Cavendish is going a straight line. If you look at Cavendish, he's actually following the wheel, and that guy goes across into him. You know what? It looks really bad, but if you put that in, they're doing 66, 67 k's an hour here, guys. So try and manoeuvre around. I think it wasn't warranted. You know what? He spat the dummy here. Grabbed the microphone from them. That probably wasn't right, but you know, it doesn't deserve getting urine thrown in your face, does it?
The interesting, yeah, no, absolutely not. The interesting thing was also the sort of, I guess, subplot, which was this sort of the Cav-Kittel battle, because, of course, Vilas was, you know, Kittel's last lead-out man, and that he ended up winning that stage. But the day after, you know, it was sort of the only one-on-one we've actually had. Kittel actually hadn't until that point, you know, Cav hadn't until that point beaten, well, Cav is yet to beat Kittel yet in a Tour de France one-on-one sprint. So it was interesting that they sort of like, Kittel actually got his sort of revenge, I guess, if you like, the following day, and you know, keeps on winning. He's probably the form sprinter of the Tour de France. So.
And Simon, that contrast between, you know, the climbers and that exhilarating pain they experience to the argy-bargy, the tactics of a sprint finish. That's what does that make the race fascinating for you?
Yeah, well, as an outsider coming into cycling, and, you know, this guy's done it all, but to get an understanding of how complicated the whole structure of the races run, and the tactics are just incredible. So sitting back and watching that all going on, you talk about the echelon there and so the ability to sort of get the crosswinds and just bang and go and put the hammer down and just get that break. And you've got Chris Froome, who's like, you know, now looks as though he's going to win it. He just couldn't get on that wheel to sort of get up to where those guys were, and it was just fantastic tactics.
Yeah. So many races in the race. There's, you know, there's the sprinters, and then the climbers, and then the guys helping out the sprinters and the teams, and you know, there's so many different races within the race. So it's not just the yellow jersey
the
battle.
great thing as well is about that day was that, you know, you could, and this is why I still think the tour was open, is you know, Valverde lost 10 minutes that day. That wasn't supposed to be a day where anything was going to happen other than maybe a sprint finish. So, you know, if you have a day like that, you have a day like Richie Porte had on stage 9, you know, you can lose chunks of time out of nothing.
And it's to say that Froome isn't going to absolutely have a shocker one day.
And just a quick one on Peter Sagan. Talk about brilliance wrapped up in a character that is huge at this year's tour. What about his performance on stage 15? Caught by the peloton, and he does this.
Yeah, when he does his little wheelie up the road. Absolutely fantastic, this guy. You know, I haven't seen many riders do that in a race, but that is also up Mont Ventoux, I might add. Yeah. On one wheel, so I don't know if it's been done before, but he's, you know, the sport needs guys like him. They had Chippo, he's not here anymore. You've got this little upstart bloody 23-year-old who's won 50 races already, who can pull wheelies up Ventoux.
People look at the sport and they say, Stuart O'Grady, oh, he's like 2 hours behind the leader out there, but understanding the work that guy's done for his team and just shelving himself to sort of, you know, be 2 hours behind him. He's there for a reason because he's expended so much energy helping these other guys.
And such every cog has a place in the Tour de France, and even Lanton Rouge gets a prize.
Sometimes quite valuable.
It is. It's a couple of grand.
And that's Sven Tuft, who's riding for GreenEdge as we speak. Time for a break. Let's relive some of the key moments from week 2 at the Tour de France.
There's a crash right in the middle there. Oh, that was a real thump on the shoulder by Cavendish.
One more Cavendish, a really bad sprinter again.
Why are you taking my tape recorder? Mark, I would like my tape recorder back, please.
Winner of the stage will be the world champion. Tony Martin cannot believe it. Just crashed, the leader fell, and he fell of his own volition there.
Oh, there's a massive pile-up. This was right near the front end of the main field.
A very, very nasty crash there. They all went on top of each other there. And Marcel Kittel gets 3 wins out of this year's Tour de France.
This is an amazing move by Alberto Contador. Chris Froome has been caught out there, and
they split the maillot jaune of the Tour de France.
Today, Chris Froome has really been put to the test.
Mark Cavendish and taken revenge. That is his 25th victory. On the line, it is going to be Trenton who takes it.
Yeah.